Hi everyone, hope you all must be doing great. So today we are starting with TCS tax collected at source. It's a very small topic compared to TDS. It's a small topic. And there are so many similarities between TDS and TCS. And also there is a difference between TDS and TCS also. Because in TDS we understand the person who pays the amount, the person who is paying the amount. So while he's paying the amount, he deducts TDS, right? But TCS is a bit different. Here, the person who receives the amount, the person who is collecting the amount, is responsible to collect some extra amount of TCS. So, what's the difference between TDS and we will see that there are so many similarities also, but there is a difference also. So, what's the difference between these two? Let's say there are two persons. One is buyer and the other one is seller. Let this blue one is the buyer. This person is a buyer and this person is a seller. So if this would have been the case of TDS, so who pays the amount? So the buyer will pay the amount, seller will receive the amount, right? So in TDS, the responsibility to deduct TDS is on the buyer because that person is paying the amount, right? But in TCS, the responsibility to collect the amount, is on the seller. This seller, when he will be collecting the amount, so he will be collecting some extra amount. He will be collecting some extra amount of TCS, right? And that extra amount which he has collected, he will be going to deposit to the income tax department, and that is called TCS, right? That will be called TCS. And when he will be depositing it to the income tax department, he will say, that seller will say, so this TCS belongs to buyer. So please give this credit to buyer. So whenever he will furnish this return, so whenever buyer will furnish his ROI at the end of the year, so whatever his tax liability is, he can say, sir, my TCS was also collected, so I'll be deducting that TCS and the remaining amount I'll be paying to you. So this is the simple concept of TCS, right? So whether TCS is applicable on all types of goods, all types of services, the answer is no. Only on certain goods, and only on few services, TCS provisions will apply. So TCS scope is very limited. It's very limited. Only on few things TCS applies, right? One of the thing is, let's say there is if you sell alcoholic liquor, then TCS is applied. There are some other things also. Let me take this example of alcoholic liquor. So let's say this person is a seller who is a manufacturer of alcoholic liquor, right? And this person, this buyer is having his wine shop. So if this person has a wine shop, so he needs this buyer needs alcohol so that he can do his business and he can sell these wines to their consumers, right? So is buyer a consumer? No, buyer is not the consumer. Buyer is just purchasing it so that he can keep the stock in his wine shop and he'll be selling to the end consumers, right? So buyer is not the end consumer. Okay. But is buyer using it for personal purpose? No, he's purchasing wine so that he can do this business with this stock and he can sell this stock at profit and so that he can earn money, right? So it is not for personal consumption. So here alcoholic liquor TCS provisions is applicable and the rate on alcoholic liquor is 1%. You have to collect 1% TCS. So let's say this buyer who is the owner of wine shop, he approaches the seller who is the manufacturer. He says that I would like to purchase wine of rupees, let's say 10 lakh rupees. So buyer will pay 10 lakh rupees to seller. So seller is receiving the amount. So here seller will say, because on alcoholic liquor, we have TCS provisions and you have to pay me. Seller will say, buyer, you have to pay me 10 lakh rupees plus 1% extra. Why 1%? Because the TCS rate on alcoholic liquor is 1%. So here, buyer will have to pay 10 lakh rupees plus 1% extra. 1% is 10,000 rupees, I believe, right? So this buyer has to pay 10 lakh 10,000 rupees to the seller. So this seller will receive 10 lakh 10,000 rupees. So this seller has received 10 lakh rupees also plus extra amount of TCS, that is 10,000 rupees also, right? So 10 lakh rupees he can keep with the seller will keep this money with himself because this is the sale amount, right? This is the selling price. And 10,000, what about this 10,000 rupees, sir? We know that this TCS, he has to deposit this to the income tax department, of course. So this particular 10,000 rupees, he is going to deposit to the income tax department. And while depositing this amount, The seller will say, sir, this 10,000 is the TCS which I am depositing to you, and this TCS belongs to whom? This buyer. This TCS belongs to this buyer. Please give credit to that buyer, so that whenever buyer will be furnishing his return after this previous year on or before the due date, this person might be furnishing his return also. So because he's running a wine shop, he's getting income from PGBP. So whenever he will furnish his return of this year, whenever he will be furnishing his return, he will be saying, sir, my PGBP in so and so, let's say whatever the amount is. He will say, sir, my tax liability, let's say for example, I'm presuming tax liability comes to rupees 4,50,000. So now buyer can say, sir, my 10,000 rupees TCS has already been collected. It is already with you because the seller has deposited the amount and he has already said that this 10,000 rupees belongs to me. So income tax department will say, yes, yes, we have your TCS amount. So this person, this buyer, whenever he will be furnishing the return, his PGBP, he will be showing his PGBP income or any other income from wherever he is earning the income. Let's say his tax liability is 4.5 lakh. So he will be getting the credit of TCS also. The same way we used to get a credit of TDS, the same way we get the credit of TCS also. So 10,000 rupees has already been deposited. So you have to pay the remaining amount only. Tax payable is 4,40,000. Simple concept, almost similar like TDS, correct? So here we understood that the person who collects the amount, will collect something extra, whatever if TCS is applicable on that transaction, because I have already said that TCS is not applicable on every type of goods, every type of services. The scope is very, very limited. Only few. I'll just make you read also. There are only few types of goods or very few types of services where TCS provisions will apply. So if there is any transaction which is happening and on which TCS provisions will apply, then the person who is receiving the amount has to collect something extra from the buyer. They have to collect something extra from the buyer. Whatever is the TCS rate on that particular transaction will apply that TCS rate. Correct? Okay. Now I'll read out the things on which TCS provisions will be applicable. But first of all, understand that if this buyer, okay, first let me come to this. So this is page number 12.2. I believe that you have already downloaded this book. If someone has not downloaded it yet, you can visit the website and you can easily download this book. First of all, understand rate of TCS on certain goods. See, here it is written only on certain goods. So we have only certain goods like on alcoholic liquor for human consumption. TCS rate is 1%. Right? TCS rate is 1%. Scrap, this is not that general scrap. This is generally scrap which is from industrial waste, mechanical or industrial waste. Generally scrap of iron and other type of metals. So people have business of scrap also. So whenever you will sell scrap, if you are a scrap dealer, then whenever you will sell scrap, you will collect TCS also 1%. So scrap also 1%. Minerals like coal, lignite or iron ore 1%. I'm again repeating. Alcoholic liquor, scrap, minerals like coal, lignite, iron ore, the TCS rate is 1%. You should know this. Second is timber or other forest produce. You understand what is timber? What? Timber or other forest produce, the TCS rate is 2.5%. Timber also 2.5, other forest produce also 2.5. Tendu leaves, the TCS rate is 5%. Tendu leaves is what? Do you understand what is Tendu leaves? It's similar to cigarettes, right? It's a small sister of cigarettes. So where people wrap tobacco and they just have this BDs. So that is called tendu leaves. So if you purchase tendu leaves, then the TCS rate is 5%, right? So I'm again repeating, for alcoholic liquor, scrap, minerals, the TCS rate is 1%. For timber and other forest produce, the TCS rate is 2.5%. For tendu leaves, the TCS rate is 5%. So this is the section. Although you don't have to learn the section number, but this section says, as per section 206C1, seller of certain goods. So if the person is engaged in these types of goods, then he is required to collect TCS also from the buyer, right? One more thing you should understand. This section says some few more things. What this section says, that if you are a buyer, if you are dealing in such kind of goods, then you have to pay TCS. You have to pay TCS to the seller, right? I'm again repeating, if you are dealing in such kind of goods, if you are dealing in liquor, so this person is having his wine shop, he was dealing in liquor. So let's say you are a coal merchant, you are dealing in coal, you are purchasing coal and you will be selling the coal. Then TCS will apply. But if you are such a buyer that you are using it for your personal consumption, then this section says TCS will not apply in that case, right? We will do some other sections also, but this section says that this section first of all mention these types of goods, right? It mentioned this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This section mentions 6 types of goods, and this section says that if you are purchasing these goods as a consumer, as an end consumer, as a for a personal consumption, then TCS rate will not apply. And this is very logical also, because let's say there is a person, Mr. A, and Mr. A is he's in a habit of drinking wine every day. So he's an end consumer, right? This person is an end consumer. So let's say this today he is going to have to buy a bottle of wine. So let's say he went to this wine shop. He'll go to this wine shop. Let's say the bottle of wine will be rupees 1500. So this person is also purchasing alcohol for human consumption, right? So whether this buyer will say, no, no, this is not the buyer right now, because in this transaction, this person is a seller, right? This is the buyer, Mr. A. So whether this wine shop owner will say you have to pay TCS of 1% also, because we have learned that on alcoholic liquor, the TCS rate is 1%. Here the answer will be no, because this section says, I'm specifically saying, this section says, if this buyer is using it for personal consumption, then TCS is not going to apply in that case. Got it? So if you are using it for personal consumption, then TCS will not apply. Also, if you are not the dealer of such kinds of goods, if you are not the dealer of such kind of goods, but still you are purchasing such goods like coal, you are purchasing timber, you are purchasing, why? For your production process. You are into some other kind of business. Your finished goods is something else. But if you are purchasing this goods as a raw material, then also TCS will not apply. So in that case, you have to just give a declaration to the seller that seller, I am purchasing this alcoholic liquor, I am purchasing this timber, I am purchasing this other forest produce, because I am not the dealer of such goods, but I am a dealer of something else. I am a manufacturer of something else. I produce some other finished goods. I am using these, I'll be using this only for in the production process as a raw material. I am purchasing it. Then also TCS will not apply. So TCS will also only apply in this section. This section says TCS will only apply if this buyer is dealer of such goods. He's a dealer of such goods and he will be further selling these goods only. Then TCS will apply, right? Got it? So if this buyer is using the goods as a raw material, or might be he's using the goods for generation of power. Let's say he's using coal, because we understand on coal also there is a TCS rate of 1%. So let's say this buyer is purchasing coal, but why he's purchasing coal? Let's say he will be using it as in a factory for generation of power. In that case also TCS will not apply. TCS will only apply when you are a dealer and you are purchasing it and you will be selling these goods only. You are purchasing alcoholic liquor and you will be selling alcoholic liquor. You are purchasing coal, you will be selling coal. In that case, TCS provisions will apply. Got it? So TCS provision will not apply in this section when if you are a end consumer, then TCS will not apply. If you are purchasing this as raw material or for using it for generation of power, then TCS will not apply. Also, we will not collect TCS from government. From government, it could be central government, state government, it could be any public sector company. So if it's a public sector company also, then also we will not collect TCS from government. So let's say I can say if the buyer itself is government, public sector company, or foreign embassies, then we will not collect TCS from them. Right? See. TCS will not apply if the buyer furnishes a declaration. Now, buyer is furnishing a declaration that above goods will be used in manufacturing process. Sir, I am using these goods. I'll be purchasing these goods just as a raw material. I'll be not be selling these goods. I'll be selling something else, right? Or I'll be using it in the generation of power. I'm not taking these goods for trading purpose. No, I'll be using it for in my production process as a raw material or for generation of power. Then TCS will not apply. Second thing, buyer means any person who purchases such goods except central government. If the buyer is central government, we will not collect TCS from central government, state government, public sector company, foreign embassy or foreign consulate. That is foreign embassies. So we will not collect TCS from them. Or if you are using it for personal consumption. This section is 206C1, right? I'll be discussing some other sections also. But in this section, it says that if you are using it for personal consumption, then we are not going to apply TCS in that case, right? And who is the seller? Seller can be any person. Seller can be any person. Seller could be company. Seller could be partnership firm. Seller could be AOP, BOI. TCS provisions will apply. And the same thing, if the seller is an individual or HUF, if the seller is individual or HUF, can they collect TCS? The answer is again yes, also no, also. It depends upon their last year turnover. So if their last year business turnover is more than 1 crore, last year profession turnover is more than 50 lakh, then only such seller can collect TCS, not normal individual or HUF. But yes, if it is a company, will not see turnover. If it is a partnership firm, will not see turnover. In that case, such kinds of seller are eligible. But if it is an individual or HUF, then only those whose turnover is more than that threshold limit. Got it? So it's written over here, seller of the bulk goods, right? Okay. Also, TCS applies on such services also. 2% TCS will apply on parking lot whenever you give parking lot to someone or toll plaza to someone or minor query to someone. What is this? You understand that these mines, let's say, let me take the example of mines. These mines are generally owned by government. These are generally owned by government. So government gives license to various companies, to various industries, so that they can extract coal or other minerals from that particular mine, right? So whenever government will give license, whenever government will give license or they are giving these mines on lease to someone, they will be collecting the money. They will be collecting 2% extra also of TCS. So 2%. Let's say if we are giving parking lot, government actually gives parking lots to contractors, right? So we are giving toll plaza license or we are giving to a toll plaza lease to someone. Generally, this is owned by government. So whenever government will give it to someone, then TCS will be applying. Here we are collecting TCS from government. No, government is collecting. Government can collect TCS, but TCS will not be collected from government. Correct. So government can collect TCS. So they are collecting it from normal people, right? So they can collect the TCS, but TCS will not be collected. If the buyer is government, then TCS will not be collected. But if the seller can be government, right? So here, parking lot, toll plaza, minor query, please understand 2% TCS will apply in that case also. Okay. Important section 206C1F. Again, not important to learn the section number, but you should know the provision. Here, now it is a different section, right? It's a different section now. Here, if you purchase a car, a four-wheeler, not two-wheeler, not three-wheeler. If you purchase a car that is four-wheeler and the value of the car is more than rupees 10 lakh, value of the car is more than rupees 10 lakh, then that showroom who is selling you the car, that person will collect TCS also at a rate of 1%. That person will collect the TCS also. Why? Here income tax would like to track the high value transaction. So if you are purchasing a car which is of more than 10 lakh, generally now most of the cars are above 10 lakh, but yes, this provision is quite old, so still the value is 10 lakh over here. So if you purchase a car, that too for personal purpose, this is for personal purpose. So if you purchase here, personal purpose means that you are the end user. Either you will be purchasing the car for yourself, for your family, for your personal purpose, or even if you purchase these car for your business purpose also, you are the end user, right? So TCS will apply in that case, right? So if you are the end user of car, end user, you understand, either you are purchasing it for yourself or you are purchasing it for your business or profession, then TCS will apply if the value of the car is more than 10 lakh, 1% TCS will apply, right? So let's say if there is a car manufacturer is selling car to car dealer, to car showroom, whether TCS will apply? No. Here car dealer is not the end user. Here car dealer is not the end user. These car dealers, these car showrooms, whenever they will be selling the car to the end users, and if the value of the car is more than 10 lakh, then TCS will apply. Should it be luxury car? No, not relevant. The only relevant point is the value of the car should be more than 10 lakh rupees, right? If you purchase three cars, one car value is, let's say, 6 lakhs, other car value is 7 lakh, third car value is 9 lakh. Should we aggregate it together? No, we have to see each individual car separately. So we don't have to aggregate it. No, Please see each and every car separately. So let's say if one car, if all these three cars is of less than 10 lakh, no need to apply TCS. But let's say if one car is 9 lakh rupees, other car is for 20 lakh rupees, then TCS will only be applied on this particular car or individual car, right? So TCS collector is any person who is selling those vehicles. So mainly you can write it down, the showroom or the car dealer who is selling you that vehicle, that person will be collecting the TCS. So this that showroom could be a company, that showroom could be a partnership firm, AOPBY. If that showroom is the owner of that showroom is the individual or HUF, then we have to see the turnover of last year, right? Buyer is the retail purchaser. Retail purchaser means end user. You can write end user if the buyer is the end user. But yes, if the buyer is, we understand that if the buyer is central government, state government, foreign embassy, foreign consulate, then TCS provisions will not apply, right? Rate of TCS, you should understand 1%. Threshold limit, if the motor vehicle is more than rupees 10 lakh, then TCS will apply. Correct, you can read this that I have already discussed. It is not necessary that it should be luxury car. The only criteria is that it should be of more than 10 lakh rupees. Okay, mark this section as important because there is little amendment also in this section. So this section is the examiner's favorite. They can ask you this section. They can ask questions on this section and next section also, but this section is more important. What this section says? Actually, this section deals with two things. This section 206C1G, no need to remember the section number, but yes, this section deals with two things. One is overseas tour package. Second is overseas remittance. So first I'll discuss one by one. First I can discuss this overseas tour package. Then I'll be discussing remittance under liberalized remittance scheme. What is overseas tour package? So whenever we are traveling outside, outside India, that is called overseas tour package. So let's say you approach any tour operator that, let's say you are going on a family trip, right? You're going on a family trip, you and your family members, two or three or your family members are going on a family trip. So let's say you approach a tour operator and that person says, okay, let's say you are going to Europe for 15 days, you are going to Europe. So that person says that tour operator says, okay, for 15 days, I'll be charging 10 lakh rupees for the tour package. I'll be charging 10 lakh rupees. That tour operator that tour operator will also be charging 5% TCS, 5% TCS. The amount which this person is charging, that person, because he is collecting the amount, right? The person who collects the amount, he will collect extra from you. So if you are um, making a payment of 10 lakh rupees, then this person will charge some extra TCS, right? The rate of TCS is 5%, but there is a little amendment. In some cases, it would be 20% also. I'll tell you what is the amendment, right? So first of all, I'm telling the basic provisions. So whenever this tour operator will be collecting the amount, any amount, whether that tour package is of 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakh, 7 lakh, whatever it is, on any amount, that tour operator, if it is a overseas tour package, you are going outside India, even if you are going to Pakistan, if you are going to Sri Lanka, then also this provision will be applicable. That is outside, anywhere outside India, this provision will be applicable. So that tour operator will be charging you extra amount. So there is an amendment which is effective from middle of the year, exactly middle of the year. That is from 1st October 2023. We have previous year. We are doing previous year 23-24, right? So 6 months here, 6 months here, exactly at the middle of the year. 1st October 2023, the rate is bit changed. Let me explain this to you. So let's say this person is a tour operator. So what was the scenario before 1st October 23? I can also write it up to 30th September 2023. And what is the scenario after this date? So let's say if you're going after this date, on or after 1st October 2023. First, let me take this amount. Let's say you have been outside India, you and your family members are going outside India and you have approached a tour operator to get the tour package. So let's say this was anywhere before this date, anywhere before this date. But generally, I believe that examiner will ask you of any date which is on or after 1st October 23. But let us understand the entire section. So if you are going before this date, you have purchased this tour package before this date, then the TCS rate will be 5% on the entire amount. On the entire amount. It means, for example, let's say if you have purchased a tour package of 4 lakh, then tour operator will collect 4 lakh rupees also from you plus extra amount. How much? 4 lakh into 5%. How much it would be? 20,000 rupees. So you have to pay 20,000 rupees extra. That is 4 lakh 20,000 rupees. So this 20,000 rupees is what? It's the extra payment which you have to make, and this 20,000 rupees is the TCS. Whenever you will be submitting the return, whenever you will be submitting your return, whatever is your tax liability for this period, you can deduct this amount because this is the amount which has already been deposited to the income tax department, right? So this is not, I cannot say that this is an extra expense. No, this is not an extra expense. Whatever is your tax liability for this year, you can take the credit of 20,000 rupees, right? But the TDS rate is, sorry, TCS rate is 5% in that case. For example, if this the tour package would have been rupees 10 lakh, then also 5% TCS, how much it would have been? 50,000 rupees. You have to pay 50,000 rupees extra, 10 lakh plus 50,000 rupees, and 50,000 rupees would have been your TCS. But let's say you have taken this tour package on or after 1st October 2023, on or after 2023. So it says if the tour amount is from 0 to 7 lakh, then we will charge 5% TCS, and above 7 lakh, we will charge 20% TCS. The rate has been increased so high. So 0 to 7 lakh, 5%. Above 7 lakh, you will have to pay 20% TCS. So example is, let me take the same example. Let's say the date is on or after 1st October 2023. The value which you are paying, let's say to tour operator is just 4 lakh rupees. It is not going above 7 lakh. So on 4 lakh, 5%, simple, 20,000, it will be the same. But if the value of that tour package is 10 lakh rupees, then how much TCS you have to pay extra? Because this date is on or after 1st October 23, right? So on 10 lakh rupees, on first 7 lakh, you have to pay 5%. And on the excess over 7 lakh, you have to pay 20%. So in that case, on 7 lakh, you have to pay 5%. And on 3 lakh, you have to pay 20%. So on 5 lakh, 7 lakh 5% is 35,000, and 3 lakh 20,000 is 60,000. Okay. In this case, you have to pay 95,000, right? If you want, you can write it down also. You can pause the video here and you can write it down. Correct? Okay. Now I'm changing it. So this is the first part of this section. Easy. Second part is also very easy. So overseas tour package, seller of overseas tour package has to collect TCS on the following rates up to 30th September 2023, that is before 1st of October, 5% on the entire amount. On or after 1st October, up to 7 lakh, 5%, in excess of 7 lakh, 20%, right? Second point is overseas remittance under LRS scheme. So what is overseas remittance? If you are remitting money outside India, so what you would be doing is you will be purchasing the foreign currency, right? So the person who is selling the foreign currency to you, he will collect TCS. So first of all, understand. So in case of liberalized remittance scheme, LRS scheme, first of all, understand that up to, this section says that up to 7 lakh, there would be no TCS. Up to 7 lakh. This is the case of remittance now. Up to rupees 7 lakh. If you are remitting outside India up to rupees 7 lakh, there would be no TCS. There will be no TCS. Got it? Okay. Second thing is that if it is more than 7 lakh, then only in excess of 7 lakh, in excess of rupees 7 lakh, TCS will apply. So let me assume that the rate of TCS is 5% over here. So let's say if you are remitting 8 lakh rupees, if you are remitting 8 lakh rupees, on first 7 lakh, we are not going to collect any TCS. And on in excess of 7 lakh, that is here, it could be 1 lakh, then we will be collecting TCS, whatever the rate is, 5%. Generally, the rate is 5%. Somewhere it is 0.5 also, somewhere it is 20% also, right? So whatever is the rate, we'll apply in excess of 7 lakh. This is the basic point in this particular section about the remittance. In tour operator, there was no deduction of 7 lakh. In fact, it was on entire amount, right? Up to 7, if it was before on or before 30th of September 2023, it was 5% on the entire amount, right? It was on entire amount. Even if the tour package was just 4 lakh, it was 5% on the entire amount. So there was no deduction of 7 lakh. Here, on or after 1st October 2023, up to 7 lakh, also we were collecting TCS of 5%. And above 7 lakh, the TCS was 20%. So here, in tour operator, there was no relaxation of 7 lakh. Got it? But here in remittance, still there is a relaxation of 7 lakh. Up to 7 lakh, if you can remit without TCS. But if you are remitting outside India, then if it is in excess of 7 lakh, then only TCS provisions will apply. Got it? Now, we will ask you what is the purpose? What is the purpose why you are remitting outside India? If it is a quite a genuine purpose, if it is quite a genuine purpose, we will collect less TCS. If it is a kind of for luxury purpose, we will collect higher TCS, correct? So if it is a genuine purpose could be if it is for you are remitting outside in India for the purpose of either for the purpose of education or for the purpose of medical treatment, right? So these are quite genuine purpose. So if you are remitting outside India for the purpose of education or for the purpose of medical treatment, that is for a very genuine purpose. Then up to 7 lakh, of course, we will not be collecting TCS. But in excess of 7 lakh, we will be collecting TCS at a rate of 5%. Right. So if you are remitting outside India for education purpose or medical treatment, let's say rupees 10 lakh rupees. So on first 7 lakh, no TCS. On 3 lakh, it would be 5%. Right. Second thing, if you are remitting outside India for education purpose, and this you are remitting for education purpose, and you have taken a loan of this amount, you are not remitting it out of your own funds. You have taken an education loan and then you are remitting it. Let's say your children, your daughter or your son is studying outside and you are remitting this amount, right? And you have taken a loan. In that case, we will collect a very nominal amount of TCS. Just for the purpose of tracking, we will collect very nominal amount of TCS. The TCS rate would be in that case 0.5%, a very nominal amount of TCS just for the tracking purpose, right? So what's the difference between here also education is written, here is also education is written? Sir, we understand here the education is, here you are sending the money outside India for education purpose, but it was not through your own funds. It was by taking a loan, correct? Here it was the money which has been remitted outside India. It was through your own funds. So if it is through your own funds, education or medical purpose, then 5%. And if it is for education purpose by taking a loan, then 0.5%, right? But if it is for other purpose, we will presume that you are remitting it for luxury purpose. We will be levying higher rate of TCS. So if it is for any other purpose, this income tax is assuming that it is for luxury purpose. You are remitting the amount for luxury purpose. So they will be charging higher rate of TCS here. So if up to 7 lakh, we understand you don't have to pay any amount. Up to 7 lakh, you don't have to pay any TCS because this I have already mentioned. This is common for all. So up to 7 lakh, you don't have to pay any TCS. In excess of 7 lakh, you have to pay TCS. In excess of 7 lakh, you have to pay 5% TCS. Sir, you were saying extra, sir, it should be luxury purpose, the rate should be higher. 5% is also for education and medical treatment purpose. Here also it is 5%. So what's the difference? The difference is by amendment. Now, if you are remitting it outside India on or after 1st October, give me a moment, on or after 1st October 2023, this 5% has been increased to 20%. So on or before 30th September 2023, it was 5%. Now it is 20%. So up to 7 lakh, we will not charge TCS, will not collect TCS, but in excess of 7 lakh, we are going to collect TCS. So here we can say up to 30th September 23, it is 5%. After on or after 1 October 2023, on or after, this is 20%. So in excess of, obviously up to 7 lakh, no TCS. In excess of 7 lakh, we are going to collect TCS. So this is the complete section now. You would like to write it down. You can write it down also. Pause the video here. This was luxury purpose, right? This was luxury purpose. It's not mentioned there in the luxury purpose, but yes, the interpretation is that if you are remitting it for other purpose, we will assume that it is mainly for luxury purpose. Got it? Okay. So it's all written over here. And obviously, if the buyer is government, central government, state government, foreign embassies, etc., then we will not going to apply TCS. Also, here, if the person who is remitting outside India, that person is a non-resident and he does not have any permanent establishment in India. So this person is a non-resident. He can remit outside India in the normal course, right? So in that case, also for non-resident who does not have a permanent establishment in India, in that case also we will not apply TCS, right? Okay. Now there is another section. In fact, this is the last section of TCS formally, 206C1H. And do you remember there was a section in TDS also, 194Q, which I have asked you to let us make it pending. We will do it with TCS. So now I'll be discussing both these sections, 194Q also and 206C1H also. Okay, give me a moment. Okay, we have section 206C1H. Although no need to remember the section number, guys. There is no requirement to remember the section number, but you should know the provision. So let's say this person is a buyer and this person is a seller. This section will apply. This section will apply if this seller turnover of the preceding previous year, that is last year. So our previous year is 23-24. So we have to see the turnover of last year, that is previous year 22-23, right? So if the seller turnover of the last year, preceding year, is more than rupees 10 crore, it is more than rupees 10 crore, then this section will apply. Second thing is that he is selling goods to a buyer. He is selling goods to a buyer which is in excess of 50 lakh during the previous year. That is a high value transactions are happening. So let's say during the year, this person is selling to this person buyer and the value exceeds, in aggregate, it exceeds rupees 50 lakh. So in excess of 50 lakh, in up to 50 lakh, we are not going to charge TCS, but in excess of 50 lakh, we are going to charge TCS at a very nominal amount. Why? Just 0.1%. Why a nominal amount? Just because income tax department would like to track these transactions, right? So let's say if this person in the month of April 23, during this previous year, this person has sold the goods of rupees 20 lakh. No need to collect TCS. Second transaction also let's say this is happening in somewhere in June 23. He's selling something of rupees 30 lakh. No TCS. Why? Because 20 plus 30 is just 50. But on the remaining amount, let's say in the month of October 23, he's again selling goods of 10 lakh rupees. Now it is exceeding 50 lakh rupees. So on whatever is the amount which is exceeding 50 lakh rupees, the aggregate is now comes to 60 lakh. So 50 lakh we will exempt. On 10 lakh rupees, we will charge, this person will charge 10 lakh at rate of just 0.1%. Just to track this transaction, he will collect extra TCS, right? So I'm again repeating, 206C1H will apply. 206C1H will apply if this person is a seller whose turnover of the last year exceeds 10 lakh, 10 crore rupees. His turnover of the last year means for us, we can say previous year 22-23 turnover exceeds 10 crore rupees. And if this person is making a sale which is more than 50 lakh rupees, you can do the aggregate also. So if this person is doing multiple sale to this person, just keep on aggregating. As and when it reaches 50 lakh, then you have to apply TCS also on that excess amount, right? So let's say if this person has sold the goods during this year of rupees 80 lakh, then on 50 lakh, please don't charge any TCS. But on 30 lakh, you have to collect TCS at a rate of 0.1%. Got it? Now, there is a section 194Q also in TDS. 194Q says, if you are a buyer, because TDS will apply, TDS will emphasize this responsibility. They will catch hold the buyer, right? The person who is paying the amount. So 194Q says, if you are a buyer and if your turnover of the last year, similar provisions, last year is more than rupees 10 crore. Buyer, your turnover is more than 10 crore. And if you are purchasing something, from the seller, which in excess of 50 lakh, then you have to apply TDS under this section 194Q at a rate of 0.1%. Both the rates are same. TDS rate is also same 0.1. The TCS also rate is also same 0.1. And in excess of, both the things are again similar. In excess of 50 lakh, you have to deduct TDS. So if the buyer turnover is more than 10 crore, and if this person is doing transaction with this person, with the seller in excess of 50 lakh, then you have to collect you have to deduct TDS also at a rate of 0.1%. But if your turnover is exceeding 10 crore, then and you are making a transaction of more than 50 lakh, then you have to collect TCS at a rate of 0.1%, right? Okay, let me discuss some cases. Let's say buyer turnover is also less than 10 crores, seller turnover is also less than 10 crores. Then what will happen? 194Q will also not apply because buyer turnover is less than, of the last year is less than 10 crore. Seller, this section will also not apply. Why? Because the seller turnover is also less than 10 crores. So in that case, neither 194Q or nor 206C1H will apply. Got it? So if both the seller and buyer have a turnover which is less than 10 crores. Okay. In case buyer turnover is less than 10 crore, but seller turnover is more than 10 crores. So in that case, this section will apply, obviously. This section will not apply because buyer turnover was less, but seller turnover was more. So in that case, TCS will apply. Similarly, if buyer turnover is more than 10 crore, but seller turnover is less, so obviously 194Q will apply, right? But what will happen if both of them have a turnover which is more than 10 crore? So which section will apply? Tell me. Don't learn this. Just tell me, apply the logics. Which among TDS and TCS, which is a much stronger section, or you can say which is more lengthier topic? TDS, right? So in that case, you can learn in this way that if both the buyer and seller turnover is more than 10 crores, in that case, only this provision will not apply. Only TDS will apply. Correct? So TDS is more stronger. We have taken so much time in revising TDS also, but TCS has not taken that much time. So TDS is stronger. So in that case, if these two sections clashes in between themselves, then 194Q will win. 194Q will apply. Got it? Also, there are three more points in this section. This section says that if you are selling alcoholic liquor, or if you are selling that mineral coal, lignite, iron ore, if you are selling tendu leaves, then this section will not apply. That respective section which we have read it first, only that will apply in that case. So if you are selling any type of goods other than those which were mentioned over there, then only this section will come into picture. If you are selling anything which is alcoholic liquor, or you are selling tendu leaves, etc., then in that case, this section will not apply, that section will apply. The same thing is mentioned in 194Q also. 194Q also, if you will read, it says that if you are purchasing anything like alcoholic liquor, mineral, coal, lignite, iron ore, or tendu leaves or other forest produce, in that case also, then TCS, that provision will apply, right? In that case, that provision will apply. Got it? Second thing is that if you are the seller and this buyer is sitting outside India, let's say, so it means that if you are exporting something, if you are exporting something, then in that case, this TCS provision will not apply. Because why? Because government would like to track the transaction of the person who is in India. If this person is sitting outside India, let's say if this person is sitting in US and this person is sitting in Bangalore, so if this person is exporting the person who is in US, so this person will say, why you would like to collect TCS? I'm not responsible to pay any tax in India because I'm not earning any income from India. He's just simply making, even he's making just expenses, right? He's doing a purchases. So he's not going to pay any type of TCS. So if you are exporting anything from India to outside India, in that case, TCS provisions will not apply. Similarly, if you are importing anything, so let's say if let's say this seller is sitting in US, the seller is sitting in US and his turnover was more than 10 crore. But if he's selling something within India, then will he be able to collect TCS? The answer is no. Why? We will be applying TCS provision of the person who is sitting outside India. Correct? So these all things are written over there. But the most important thing is that you please understand that if the last year turnover is more than 10 crore, then TCS will apply in excess of 50 lakh. In excess of 50 lakh, how much? 0.1%. Correct? Okay, this is written over here. And these sections are quite similar to those sections that if you will not furnish your PAN number, then we are going to apply higher rate of TCS in that case. So if you will furnish, if the buyer, the person who is buying the goods or buying the services like mines, query, etc., if that person has not furnished his PAN number or they furnish their invalid PAN number, then we will apply whatever is the rate of TCS in the section. We will apply double that rate or 5%. Here it is not 20%, here it is 5%, whichever is higher. Double the rate or 5%, whichever is higher. But yes, in this case, if this is the case of 206C1H, see here, the rate is just 0.1%. So we cannot apply 5%. For in this case, the rate for 5%, we will replace it by just 1%, right? This section does not apply to a non-resident who does not have a permanent establishment in India. Why? Because he might not be having the PAN number. And the maximum rate under this section cannot exceed 20% also. The maximum rate cannot exceed 20%. Let's say this person is remitting outside India. He's remitting the amount outside India under LRS scheme, which is, let's say, more than 7 lakh rupees. So 20% TCS will apply in that case. 20% TCS will apply. So what we will do if that person has not furnished the PAN number, so we will say 2 into 20%. 2 into 20%, that would be 40%, or 5%, whichever is higher. 40% we are going to apply the TCS. No, 40% would be too high. So in this case, they have mentioned that the maximum limit of TCS should not go above 20%, right? Similar provision, higher rate of TCS for non-filers, same provision which we did in TDS. Who is a non-filer? Sir, who has not furnished the return of time, return by the due date of the last year. Which last year? Whose due date has expired? Plus the TDS, the aggregate. You remember the last point which we have discussed in TDS? Same provision. And plus the last year TDS and TCS, the aggregate of that TDS and TCS was more than 50,000 rupees. Then that person is called non-filer. And on non-filer, the TCS rate will be 2 into the rate prescribed in the respective section, or 5%, whichever is higher, right? So this was a small topic TCS, but yes, very important for examination. Especially, please, I would highly request you to do these sections: 206C1H, goods exceeding 50 lakh rupees, and these overseas remittance. This is overseas remittance and overseas tour package. This is the topic which is important for your examination, right? So there are only few topics now left. We'll do advanced text and then we'll switch on to our ROI topic. So that we'll be covering in our next lecture. I think in next lecture I'll be covering advanced text, then I'll be covering your return of income. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Right.